Survival is not just about staying alive. It's about finding hope, healing, and strength. This is The Survivor's Voice. I'm your host, Angie Sedore. Before we begin, this episode may contain discussions of trauma, abuse, or other sensitive topics. Listener discretion is advised. We don't recommend listening to this show with young children present, and we encourage you to prioritize your well-being. Today on The Survivor's Voice,
having my previous, suicide attempts, the family drama, I wanted to get out. I knew what I had to do. I immediately went downstairs, got on a sat phone to call his dad. That right there was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. They've given all of theirs and nothing's given back.
We're here with Derek today. He is a veteran with the Army, and I'm so grateful that he's here with us today, willing to share his story. First of all, I just want to say thank you for your service.
Appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank you.
Freedom isn't free.
Yep.
And it's because of men and women like you that are willing to risk it all to give us the freedoms that we have today. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate the appreciation.
First of all, I just kind of want to get a feel of who you are today. What do you do? Where are you at in your life right now?
Where I am at today is just very unique, my situation. I retired at 34. I'm 37 now. I was still working, and then just at some point really went through all the bureaucracy, the red tape, and I've tried to help other veterans get where I'm at. And
so are you working currently?
No, I'm a full-time stay-at-home dad. I help my significant other, do her thing, and I dropped her off at work today, and I just, I'm a girl dad.
Yeah.
I got 2 girls, so
awesome. Yeah. Tell me what led you to get into the military and all of the things.
Okay, I grew up just north of Toledo, Ohio, and I didn't grow up in the best of homes. My mom was an abusive alcoholic. My dad was a working class dad, gone at 4 a.m, not home till 5, 6 at night, and then he goes right to bed to do it again, Monday through Friday type thing. So My dad wasn't quite there. My dad was just, what he saw was very small window. Me being the oldest of 3 brothers, I caught the brunt of a lot of the alcoholism, abuse, the bad parenting thing. I wanted to end my life before I was a teenager because of the abuse. I think I was somewhere between 8 and 12. I don't remember because trauma, you bury it and you forget a lot. But I was a preteen and I drank an entire bottle of Pepto-Bismol in my parents' bathroom. And I didn't know what it would do. I just knew it wouldn't be good, and I would just go to sleep and maybe I wouldn't feel anything. My dad walked in on me and caught me. He thought I was just, upset stomach and I was dosing myself. He was upset because I was a child dosing myself with Pepto-Bismol. There was a few various attempts in there, as time went on, my mom going in my room, taking all of my toys and everything, throwing everything in the garbage. And then I hung myself in the closet with a belt. The closet rod fell and collapsed. Realized that wasn't really working, so I started stealing jewelry from my mom.
What was the purpose of stealing it? Were you going to sell it?
Sell it and then use the money to run away. I had a plan. There's railroad tracks that run straight from Toledo to Chicago, so you could take the railroad tracks. And after running away didn't seem like a good idea, I just started at that age just seeking anything. So I started hoping and praying at such a young age that my parents would get divorced so I could go live with my dad.
Okay, so let me back up a minute. Was your dad aware that was happening?
No.
And was it physical?
Oh, yeah, very much. I mean, on my forehead, just about 2 or 3 inches above my hairline here on my forehead, I've got about a 1-inch scar, and it's a thin line. It's from when I was cleaning our kids' bathroom back in the day. It's just a half bath. And I was cleaning it, and my mother, just for no reason, comes up behind me, grabs my hair. She goes, "Oh, you missed a spot." Grab my head, slams it on the faucet. I don't think she realized how much damage she did because, of course, I was seeing stars, blood running down my face. The panic on her was so immense that she cut my hair, shaved my head, and then she butterfly stitched it. And then come to find out later on, she told my father that I slipped and fell. Because when I told my dad later on, hey, this is what happened, he was like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And, as I got older, I started telling people like I didn't want to live with my mom. When my parents were getting divorced, I told the family coordinator in the court. We sat down with a third party judge ordered family facilitator, and they interview me and my brothers, and they're sitting there going, well, why do you want to live with your non-biological father, Derek? You don't want to live with your mom. Why is that weird? So I unleashed everything. And then thinking, wow, that was a huge weight off my shoulders. The court system's going to do their thing. Me and my brothers are going to be okay. Come to find out, they told my dad in court that day that they felt that me and my brothers were coached. So we ended up living with my mom. And that stems...
How old were you then?
I think I was 16, 17, so it was progressively getting worse.
So disappointing.
I just remember the night that I asked to go live with my dad. This was like we were all separating stuff in the house. And I looked at my mom and said, I don't want to live with you. I want to live with Tom. She was very confused, and that was shocking to me because it's like, why does this come off shocking to you that I do not want to live with you? So she made me a deal. She was like, you won't have to do the dishes. You won't have to clean, do any laundry. You can come and go as you please. You can go get a job. You're a teenager now. So I did all of that. I moved in with her, and it had to have been about a year that I was living with her and her new boyfriend in this apartment crammed with animals, a bull mastiff, my 2 brothers. I remember coming home from work. I worked at Kroger as a bagger, as a teenager, and I would come home from work smoking some weed with some friends. She lived in now a new school district from what I'm used to going. So in that school district, they said, hey, you need 21 credits to graduate. You're getting by, but you're getting there. Because of the divorce, now in a different district, they're like, oh, you need 28 here. So junior year, I was like, I'm dropping out. I don't even care. I'm going to go full time. So I did that. One night I came home late, and my mom's boyfriend's around the corner, and they both said something about like, why are you home so late? And I'm like, man, I'm working till 11 at night now, They were giving me shit. I might have said something I shouldn't have. He, looks at my mom and, looks back at me and goes, you can't talk to your mom like that. And that's when I had enough. I just looked at him and go, fuck you, dude. So after that, my mom called my dad and was like, he can't stay here anymore. And my dad didn't have the room for me where he was staying because he was living in these people in Ohio, they took a house and converted the attic into like a studio apartment. So my dad was living in the attic.
Yeah.
Conveniently, like 4 doors down is my mom's house, my grandmother. So when my grandmother would go down to Florida for 6 months to stay down there, she's a snowbird type thing. And my grandfather just retired. So it was just a couple of dudes,
Yeah.
It was fun. Came down to a point where she gave me an ultimatum. She was like, you either need to go get a job or you need to go to night school to go get your GED and do something. So yeah, living rent free at my grandparents, I was living it up, hunting with my uncles, camping.
Sounds like a great life.
Right. And then working a night job at a factory because it is an industrial town, making soaps like Kaboom. I was bottling soaps for FEMA. I was also going to night school, getting my GED at the same time. And that 6-month period that I was living with my grandparents there for a while, maybe it was a year, my family really started to fall apart. I was watching the fallout from my parents' divorce really take its toll. My uncles are like, dude, where's your dad? Where's your brothers? Nobody's coming around. Nobody's talking. We're not doing family get-togethers anymore. Card games, card nights done. So the distance is really starting to take its grip. So it was like we saw where the lines were drawn. There was a lot of drama and stuff that ensued. So I just had enough. Having my previous suicide attempts, the family drama, I wanted to get out. And there's just, as a teenager, there's no way to get out of a big city like that. You have no privilege. I joined the military. I was so ready for the military because I was like, instead of committing suicide, what I'm going to do is I'm going to join the military. I'm going to die in glory. I'm going to die in combat. There's a war going on right now. 9/11 just happened.
Oh.
So I just got my GED. I get my certificate in the mail. I quit my job. I went down to the recruiter's office. I took the ASVAB. They gave me 6 options and they're like, which one do you want? And I literally looked at my recruiter and was like, well, this is the fastest one that's going to get me killed probably. What's the most dangerous one from this list? And he goes, well, this one right here, 13 Fox. This one's pretty intense. And it literally said fire support specialist. So in my little ADHD teenage brain, I'm like, sweet, I'm going to go put out fires. Let's go do it. All right, whatever. I went home, I shaved my head, and the guy said, look, you got 2 weeks, man. 2 weeks when you're out. So there's no time. So I went home to my grandmother's. I showed her that I signed up. They were like, what the hell? And I was like, look, guys, I'm out of here. I was abused. Nobody helped me. I asked to stay the night over at my grandparents on the weekends. I wanted to hang out with my uncles. So I fast-tracked, joined the military, and immediately I'm in trouble. I was getting into fights. I wasn't even in basic training yet. They have this thing where you wear your green socks, your PT shorts, and then a sweatshirt. So you look weird. You look like a newbie who's a freshie. You can be picked out of a crowd in case you get lost.
I bet.
Before basic training, I'm there and there's a guy picking on a group of kids. So I told these kids, I was like, you want to get it back at him, go do it. Use this medicated foot powder and go shove it in his face when he's in the shower. They blinded the kid. I got an Article 15 before I was even in the military. And I said, well, obviously he was starting a fight, and they did it. I just told these kids, what I considered weak kids, just like, go stand up for yourselves.
And those kids were also getting ready to get into basic training?
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, in the military, when you get written up for an Article 15 and then you go to another unit, that Article 15 gets kind of like swept away. In the military, that's how it is. If you get a Article 15, a small slap on the wrist or something, it goes away in your next unit. So in my next unit, they were just like, oh, look, we get a fresh soldier. So I got a fresh start. And then there in basic training, I almost got in trouble again. Growing up where I did, in an abusive home I really didn't like getting picked on. I
of course not.
I call it, and still to this day, I don't like it when people piss on my leg. That's what I call it. You can make fun of me all you want. You can call me what you want. I don't care. Don't piss on my leg. So I used a bath towel bar, a hanger, and I slept with it in my sleeve because, in basic training, whites, blacks, you have your racism crap. And so, I got in a lot of fights in basic training and got in a lot of trouble. And, and after I started realizing what I signed up for, it wasn't putting out fires. What I was doing was field artillery. I was calling for fire. So it was it was a rude awakening for me, because back then we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have YouTube as prevalent. So I can go look something up. What is a fire sports specialist?
My goodness.
In now AIT, after you graduate basic, AIT is where you learn your actual job. So that's where I'm like, wow, this is going to be cool. I met a friend of mine in basic, so we did 9 weeks together. And then we went to our job training for another 8 weeks together. After AIT, the Army gives you like a 2-week grace period to like, hey, you just graduated, go home, see your family. I didn't want to see my family. I didn't want to go home. That's not what I signed up for. I signed up to go over here. I don't want to be, my family didn't care that I graduated. They didn't come to see me at my basic graduation or anything. Yeah. I don't even think half of them knew that I joined. And seeing all these family members come in for their kids, and I was like, that's how it's supposed to be. That sucks. So I didn't want to go home. So I went on a binge, weed, salvia, coke, and I somehow ended up in Little Rock, Arkansas because...
Where was your basic training?
Fort Sill, Oklahoma. So so they take you from Toledo and then they go to a centralized place they call MEPS. It's like a Army medical place where they do your examination, head to toe. So then they took me from Cleveland, I believe where that was, to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And
then you end up in Arkansas.
Yeah, because I think they give you a ticket to go home.
Oh,
and
okay.
So I missed my flight, so I exchanged it for a bus ticket, and it was supposed to take me all the way north from Oklahoma to Toledo.
Yes.
But I stopped in Little Rock, and a couple of friends from the Army were getting off there, and I was like, what the hell?
Right.
I have 2 weeks. We can make this work.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell? I stayed 3-4 weeks, so the Army marked me up as AWOL for a little bit. It happens, I think I just woke up out of a stupor one day. My friend's property, they have multiple cabins on this property. So I had my own cabin for, 2 weeks. It was great, out in the woods. I was like, maybe it's time to go. Somebody's looking for me somewhere. I'm going to get in trouble. I don't know. Let's go. Yeah. So I hopped back on a bus, went back the opposite way, reported at Fort Hood, Texas. And magically, the same time that I show up, the dude that I went through basic training with and AIT, he ends up showing up late too. And he was like, dude, you're late? I'm like, yeah, I'm late too. You're late? What are the odds we showed up this day, this hour? And of course, the Army shows up, to pick us up, and we report, and they're like, where were you two? And I was in home with my family in Mobile, Alabama, and we were where? And I was like, I don't know where I was. They don't care. So they're like, fine, you're here now. Let's get you in process. So we get going. We immediately start training for Iraq. Just immediately. That's how fast it was. As soon as we reported, they're like, hey, these guys literally just got back 8 months ago, or not even that. It was 3 or 4 months. They had just got back from Iraq. So they're like, we're training, we're turning right back around in like 6-8 months. We're getting ready to go. So these guys haven't even been in states a whole year. So that's when we're ramping it up. George Bush and his surge. So they're just taking on warm bodies. If you got a pulse, they're taking them. They want you. They're giving out bonuses at the time too, because I waived my bonus. When my recruiter was like, hey, we'll offer you $35,000. I was like, no, man, I waived it.
You didn't even care. You're like, just get me out of here.
Get me out of here. Exactly.
Do you regret that?
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Because the guy that I served with, Danner, which I don't know where this guy, even if he's alive today, nobody knows where this guy's at. But Danner, he signed, I think it was a 5-year contract for $35,000. So he's in Iraq. He's got all this money. And we're sitting here like, oh, fuck, I wish I would have done that. Like, damn it. We're getting ready to go to Iraq. I'm really good friends with Joey. And, at this time, we're getting ready to go. Right before Thanksgiving, we do our own Friendsgiving. Family, we're getting to know each other, pre-Iraq, Me and Joey specifically got really, really close. So we go to Iraq, and me and Joey are on the Advan party. And the Advan party, we basically go to set up. The whole army doesn't fly out at once. You go in stages. So there's like, a dozen of us in our platoon, and just me and Joey, we fly out first. So we're just sitting ducks, drinking coffees. They've got little Burger Kings and little shacks set up at this base. It's a FOB in Kuwait. And then next, 3 days later, another flight comes in. 2 days later, another flight comes in. Finally, a week, 2 weeks later, we have our entire platoon. Me and Joey, we're just, hanging out, roaming around Kuwait, waiting for our number to be called to be flown into Iraq. You're on standby. While we're on standby, we lost a soldier because he just lost his mind. He literally just lost his mind.
A soldier that was already out there, or one that was coming into your platoon?
In our platoon. In Kuwait. We weren't even in Iraq yet. Come to find out, this soldier had a hit list, like a kill list of our platoon of people that he hated. So it's they flew him out of Kuwait immediately to Germany to do a psych eval, and said, yeah, this dude's not right. So they Section 8 him. The Section 8, basically he's not mentally stable for the military, so they cut him loose. And we're all scratching our heads how did he make it through?
No kidding.
Because we trained with him, and we all thought he was odd, because he before we left, he'd sit there and make jokes. He'd be like, before we go, I'm gonna when we get out there, I'm gonna marry an Iraqi princess. It's I don't know if you know how that works, my guy. This isn't Aladdin, but okay. But he was just really weird, and he's called him Funky Cole, They're you're pretty funky, dude. You're really weird. And we're that's really weird that he's got a hit list of people in our platoon that he didn't like. But it didn't surprise me because, we've got a few quarterbacks in our team, and they're all, for lack of better terms, big dicks in the locker room.
Oh, okay.
They're just competitive in the military. I'm better than you. My squad's going to get more promotion points than you. I'm going to get promoted before you. So there's a big ego thing amongst E5 and NCOs and higher.
Did you guys ever see the list?
Some soldiers in our platoon did. I don't think I ever did. I don't know if I was ever on it. I doubted I was, because I was always that guy that was, pretty Switzerland to all the guys. So yeah, we're in Kuwait, and now we're on an Advan party again. They go, you and Joey, get over into Iraq. You get there, you're going to meet your relief party, introduce yourselves, and then just wait for us. So we get in.
Same process again.
Yep. So we get into Iraq, and we get assigned our room, our chew, if you will, because it's a container that's divided up into 3 parts. You can fit 6 soldiers in each container, each 20-foot connex. So we get assigned our room, and we're in Iraq, and I immediately am like, dude, chill here. I know some boys that we went to basic with in 1st Cav that are just across the base, and I'm going to go link up with them. Now, at this time, Joey, he's kind of a nerd, and he's like I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm
I'm going to follow the rules.
Right.
Yeah.
He's very much to the T. He's not West Point, but he deserved West Point. That dude was very very smart, very to the T. And so that's when I was like, you chill here. I'm going to go link up with the boys that have already been here for 12 months, maybe longer, 15 months. Yeah. The guys that we went to basic training with, they immediately went out of basic training right into Iraq. We had time to train. So one of the guys, Pickle, I went over to Pickle's room because on MySpace, we had a little bit of internet over there. So I'm like, Pickle, where are you? I'm on the same base as you. And he's like, I'm over here, make a left and then a right. So I ended up finding him, and I'm like, Pickle, we haven't seen each other in months. And he's like, what up, man? He's like, oh yeah, bullet hole in the door, don't mind that. And we got automatic machine guns and stuff. So he was messing around one night and shot a hole in his door. And instantly I was like, go figure. freaking Pickle, man. And then he was like, hey, you want to go get pizza? And I was like, you guys got pizza out here? No way. And he goes, yeah, but we got to drive. I'm like, drive what? He's like, well, one of these Humvees right here online. We just got to go take it. Now, hang on a second. We're gonna take a Humvee and we're going to go drive across the base and go get pizza. Yeah, something like that. I'm like, okay, Pickle, I'm going to follow you. You've been here for 12 months. You know what's up. So we get in the Humvee and not in just any Humvee. He's going down the line, checking combat locks to see what Humvee is unlocked. The only Humvee that was unlocked, not combat locked, because you can't unlock the Humvees from the outside. And the only not combat locked Humvee was his commander's vehicle. I asked him, I was like, are you okay to take this vehicle? Oh, yeah, no problem. Says it right in black, stenciled on the windshield, all the soldiers' names, the commander, his driver, and Pickle's name's not on this vehicle. I'm just sitting here, I'm like, okay, man, like, I'm going to follow you, dude. Like, you've been here, you're alive. Come to find out, we had to drive off base. So we drove off base, drove onto a smaller fob and got pizza. And then we get back. I was like, that was wild. I couldn't wait to tell Joey. So I get back to the room and I told Joey, like, dude, we stole a Humvee, his commander's Humvee. This place is wild. We're unsupervised out here. Our NCOs aren't here. So you get a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-olds with fully automatic weapons just doing whatever we want. So we had a few days of that, just having fun, Then our NCOs show up and the quarterbacks, as I speak of, they start showing up. They're like, okay, well, white glove inspection, the walls need to be, clean, everything. We're in a freaking desert.
Right.
So it is hard to keep stuff from, collecting dust.
Yeah.
The military makes you do weird things. You're sweeping the outside. You're sweeping the driveway every day, and it's pointless. They make you do senseless stuff. Being in a combat zone, making sure that your uniform is stainless, your hair's in regulation, creases are just right, stuff like that. The bureaucracy is wild overseas. So I knew that we had to a T, to a certain point, had to keep our room clean, inspectable. We're probably like not even 30 days in country, right before Christmas. I had a feeling a room inspection was coming up. It's been a while, so I know it's coming. So my buddy, Joey, he's on shift. We're doing 12 on, 12 off, and that's the plan for the next 6 months or so until we figure something else out. So he's on shift. I'm to relieve him. So I'm now waking up in the middle of the night, getting ready to go on shift. I'm like, I better make my bed. I better clean my room up a little bit. And I just happen to look over at Joey's side, and I'm like, oh shit, comic books and, just like teenagers' room, 19, 20-year-old dudes are just unsupervised. Yep. Our rooms are trashed. I just happen to look and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's ammo on the floor. Now in the military, that's a big no-no. Unaccounted for ammo that's just unsupervised laying out. In my head, I'm going to secure it. I'm going to save his ass.
Sure.
So it's a belt of ammo, probably 3 feet long of 5.56. So, it's probably 50 rounds, 75 rounds. And I was like, I need to hide this. So I'm looking around the room of where can I hide this to where I can tell him like, oh, hey, your rounds, I secured them for you in, wherever. So I forget where I might have hit him a few times, but the last place that I hit him, I was like, this is a good place. We had tall foot locker things. So I opened up the locker. He's got like clothes piled up in there. So I lift up everything that he had in the foot locker, threw the rounds underneath there, piled it, closed it, locked it. Now they're secured. I'm like, all right, well, that's good. I do a few other things. Now I just forget shit. I forget shit out of my head. Ammo's taken care of out of my head. I get up to the podium, talk to my buddy, and I was like, hey, we're getting a debriefing of what happened on his shift. Oh, we got shot at X amount of times. We blew off this many illumination rounds, so on and so forth. I get the briefing, and I kind of been listening to him for 10, 15 minutes, kind of unload, and I'm just like, you all right, man? You don't seem like your chipper self, And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm thinking, okay, well, it's 12 on, 12 off. We're embracing the suck. We've only been over here 20, 25 days. It's about to be Christmas. This sucks.
Yeah.
It snowed for the first time in 100 years over there. So we're just, it sucks. So the last thing I said to him was just like, yeah, you're all right? And he's like, yeah, I'm all right. I'm like, all right, man, well, I'll see you back at the room. I'm on shift, just doing my thing, watching fire go by, watching UAV feeds and camera feeds, watching just Iraq being Iraq. Next thing you know, his quarterback, his NCO, was like a 7-foot something freaking big dude, and he's an African-American, so he's dark. When he came walking up the stairs, I seen him. That's the whitest I ever seen him. He looked like he had just got done running, throwing up, and I knew something something was wrong because of his pace. 7-foot guy, they got a pretty big pace already. He's skipping over 6 steps to go above me to talk to our platoon sergeant. And I'm like, something's up. This dude should be in bed right now. I'm not a dumb person by any means. I do a lot of deduction by reason. So me playing detective in just 30 seconds, I knew something was wrong with Joey. He left kind of weird. He's coming up here weird. I instantly turned around and was like, what's wrong with Joey? And they were like, grab Carr, grab him and take him back there. And I knew something was up. They attached a chaplain to my side to make sure I wasn't going to do anything stupid. I wouldn't shut up. I was yelling. And there was hundreds of soldiers around. So they're just like, dude, Joey, he killed himself. I knew what I had to do. I immediately went downstairs, got on a sat phone to call his dad. That right there was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Because they weren't going to call him. They don't do that. They don't call you from overseas and say, hey, your son or daughter has died.
They don't?
No, you get a knock at the door with, some honor guard that never even met the dude.
Right.
They're here in this
personal.
area. Every area has a designated honor guard.
Gotcha.
They don't know your son or daughter. It was a personal thing. I've met his dad. His dad sat down with us, had dinner. I knew Joey's dad on a personal level. After I talked to his dad and he's just screaming at me on the phone, what do you mean he's not coming home? What do you mean? And I just straight up had to be blunt with him. Because the truth hurts. I was like, Joey died of a self-inflicted wound. I don't know the details, but I'm going to tell you now before they cut me off on the phone. They don't know I'm on the phone right now, but they're going to cut me off. I just needed you to know that. And still to this day, he's like, I appreciate you because I would have shot that dude at the door with a shotgun. And I know Joey's dad, and it's like, it's his only son, his only kid. So it was hard for him. Terrible. It was a terrible loss with no reason, just nothing, gone. So I instantly went nuts that day. I'm sitting there thinking it didn't happen. He got, inducted into some special forces spec ops thing or something. I don't know.
He's so out of nowhere.
Right. So, but I knew it was real when I told the chaplain, I was like, I'm kind of hungry. I want to go eat. So that was how I could get out of the room or out of the building. They were like, oh, well, we can't deny him food. So in order for me to get to the DFAC where we get our food from, I had to walk past our rooms. So as I'm walking and I look at the rooms, I see a bunch of MPs standing on top of our Connex, our rooms, and they're counting with lasers. You can see the lasers sticking out of the ceiling. So they're counting bullet holes. And that's how I knew it was real because his weapon was a fully automatic weapon. It was a machine gun. It was a 249. So in the 249 though, that's when I start reeling. I'm walking to the DFAC. I'm like, somebody had to have killed him because that weapon, it's so big. You had to stick your foot in the trigger well.
Yeah.
He was my height. He was 5'9", 5'8". So I'm sitting here. I'm like, there's no way because I didn't attempt it, but I recreated it. I had the same weapon as him. I put it under I'm like, there's no way. You can't reach without moving your head off the barrel. There's just no way. Plus I hid his rounds and I didn't tell him about his rounds. So it's like he was looking for his round. He had to find his rounds. The loading sequence for a 249, you have to open up the top, put the belt in, put it down, rack it back, and then turn this thing around, make sure the belt's, but he shot 9 rounds through his face. So I'm like, 9 rounds? How is that possible? So they fingerprinted the doorknob. I got fingerprinted. They questioned me.
What about the guy that you saw going up the steps that was white as a ghost?
Yeah.
Did he see, was he white as a ghost because he saw something?
I don't know. I do hold him and my, at the time, quarterback. I won't mention names, but I hold both of them accountable. Joey should still be here today. I cannot stand those two and how they're still here walking on this planet, enjoying their free time. And it's like, I hope they don't sleep at night because Joey didn't deserve that. The immense amount of pressure to white glove inspect a bedroom in Iraq in a combat zone, you hear about it all the time. I just recently heard a story about the guys after they got done attacking Fallujah, they were denied at the DFAC because their uniforms had a little bit of blood. They haven't showered in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So they were like, you can't come in here. It's just bureaucracy in the military. It's everywhere. And it can really drive a person up a wall, and it drove Joey up a wall to the point to where he was just, ended it. And after he ended it, that's when I kind of shifted gears. I was like, well, he beat me to it. If I wanted to die in combat, there was plenty of it. Iraq, 0709, the worst, bloodiest month was March of 2008. March Madness, we walled off Sadr City, went in, and to experience that the first month in our combat tour, I changed gears of the mentality of dying in a blaze of glory to, I love this. I'm going to embrace this. I'm going to give it my all. Be the very best. I've got something to prove now. I re-enlisted and I pushed myself not only physically, but mentally. I wanted to become a leader, not like them too. I wanted to be a leader that helped soldiers, boost them up, make them the best they can be,
not beat them down.
Yeah. I fast-tracked to sergeant. I made E5 in 3 years, 8 months, which was really quick. You don't usually make 5 that fast.
Wow.
I just ran with my military career. I ended up in units that, are very hard to get into. I ended up in a COLT team, a combat observation laser team with 13 Foxes, using vehicles that have never been used by our MOS before, testing rounds that at the time were top secret. We had secret clearances using what then it was secret, but now it's not, the Excalibur round. Just having a lot of military nose on grindstone stuff.
Yeah.
I took it and embraced it and made something of it. And then when it shifted gears out of Obama getting into office, the mentality changed. It kind of softened up. So my mentality had changed from being raising soldiers and going to get them. I was very much kicked in the stomach, So I definitely got out and was like, I'm done. And getting out, that's when I found it even more difficult.
I've always wondered this. You're out there, you're in combat, you're doing the work, and then we have a new president. What does it look like on that end?
I've never worked fast food, but I can imagine it like McDonald's in shifts, okay?
Okay.
You've got day shift, they're on the ball, and they go to do shift change, and now night shift, just a circus shit show sometimes, comes in, and then day shift comes back in and
Just
go,
to
what
clean
the
up
fuck?
the mess?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was just like that. You could watch interviews on CNN with General Petraeus. He was like, well, I did my tour. This was my goal. This is what I wanted to do. But then President so-and-so replaced me with Odionero, or whatever his name is, the refrigerator guy. And when we went over there with the mentality of okay, instead of 10,000 troops, let's send 100,000 and let's just kick in doors. You go in there with that fire, and then what? Next election, you go, here's some candy, here's some money, and now you're giving NCOs pallets of wrapped cash, hundreds of thousands of dollars to be divvied up to people who were just shooting at us just months ago for oh, hey, I found a weapons cache in the ground. We all know that's your weapons cache. But now because we have a different president that's willing to pay you out, you're only going to give us half that weapons cache because the night before they divided it and said, oh, well, we'll get this much cash. It was just crazy.
Wow.
So as a young soldier only making less than $20,000 a year, you watched $40, $50, $60, $100,000 just get handed over to these people who have never even seen a $100 bill in their life. And as a veteran coming out, as a civilian, I feel like I was constantly kicked, just kicked. You just want to do the right thing. I just want to be a quiet veteran. I'm not trying to raise any ripples anywhere. I'll be quiet. I'll do my thing. And often I find myself referencing the cliche movie Rambo. It's I just want to be left alone. You could put me in a studio apartment and just I'll be quiet. I finding myself often now saying that I don't have an anger problem. I have a people problem. People are the problem. But it's really, I wish I could just scream it out. Fuck you, man. I've been to combat. I don't need your sly comments about how I'm bagging something up at the grocery store or how I pump gas. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
I don't need to tell you where I've been, what I've done
you
for
have
you
such
to
a different
respect
perspective, right? When you've done the hard things and you've gone through the hard things, and then you have this person on the side that is nitpicking something so freaking stupid that it's
you have perspective now.
Oh,
it's just a lot of red tape in the military that'll drive you insane to the point to where you just give up. So a lot of veterans are offing themselves because they have no other avenue. They've given all of theirs and nothing's given back. I shouldn't say nothing as in oh, here's a little bit of paycheck. It needs to be something more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, because it's not working. We're just misunderstood creatures that just want to be left alone. Now that I've got kids and I help other soldiers and other veterans, I have a few veterans that fly up here or come visit and hang out. And they all say the same thing. They're like, dude, you've made it. And it's I haven't made it. I've put myself right where I want to be. I can go back to work, but I don't want that. I do have anger issues, but it's not that I'm always angry. It's just I fly off the handle at any little event. Other veterans, they don't have that kind of control. When they hit a wall, sometimes that wall will be a bullet. That's why you're finding veterans committing suicide in the Veterans Affairs parking lots. They have nowhere else to turn.
We don't treat our veterans good in this country.
And that's the thing. It's because it's just politics. If it was a different war, an actual war, and not a political war, I went into Iraq thinking this is the enemy. I'm protecting my country's freedoms because a political figure said, hey, we want to put this. The best way I can describe it was if we had an invasion here, it would literally be a war between Republicans and Democrats. But another country, let's pick on one, let's say China, says we don't like the Republicans. So let's go in, start a war, and put a Democrat in place. That is what we do to other countries. That's what we did to Iraq. Personally, I'm not going to speak about any other country. I know that's what we did to Iraq. We put a political leader that we had interest in power. And then we say, hey, this is what we want you to do. And they do it. And then when our political leaders change, when Bush was out, Obama wasn't talking to that leader of Iraq. So then it changed. It changes. It changes the environment. It's all political. If you take the politics out of it, the military wouldn't need half of the numbers they do. You take politics out of anything. That's why there's a lot of politics involved with the VA. It's all politics.
Do you or have you received any help for any of your anger issues? Do they have anything that's available to you?
Yeah, they do. But the thing is veterans have to reach out and take it. What I mean by that is there's a lot of veterans out there that don't know what they don't know. So when they hit that dead end, that wall, they go to turn to the VA and the VA is like, hey, look, here's some red tape. That veteran who's already distressed is going to not going across that red tape.
Sure, and jump through all of these hoops.
Right. I literally had to take everything that supposedly, when people say, oh, you deserve that, you have to go out and get it. It's not going to be given to you. The VA is not going to give you a rating. You need to go out and take it. So what I found out was the American Legion is in every city. You've heard of the American Legion.
Of course.
The American Legion, they have VSOs, veteran service officers. These guys work either for free from the state or any veteran that is sitting here going, man, maybe I'm not getting enough, or, go see a VSO at the local American Legion.
Good to know.
Yeah, because I've been over there numerous times when I've had any issue like, oh man, I'm at 80%. I think maybe I should be at maybe 90 or maybe 100.
And is that like your service connection?
Yeah, disability rating, or even if you are at 100%, but you're having trouble like housing. I've had like when the economy was really screaming out of control out of here, houses, went from 300,000 to 600,000. I immediately was like, well, I am about to be gentrified. All veterans in the area are about to be gentrified.
What does that mean?
We're used to living in a certain income cap.
Yeah.
All of us, doesn't matter. If we're at 100%, we all at 100% veterans all make about $4,000 a month. So that's the cap. Now, if the local economy exceeds that, we're starting to scramble. We can't go work overtime. We can't exchange our holiday pay. We have to go out and start cutting corners. And cutting corners, what does that look like? That looks like, hey, we're turning off all the lights. We're trying to cut our electric bill to save some money. We're shutting off cell phones. We're looking for cheaper avenues. I'm shopping at, like the grocery food store instead of my Costco runs.
Right.
With 2 kids, you really got to cut corners.
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, I'm about to be homeless because I'm renting. I didn't buy. I'm renting here in this economy in this area. So any veteran that is renting, I'm telling them, I feel it. I was panicking. I'm like, at any moment, my landlord could want to sell and it would be bought up like that.
And that happened all the time.
Yes. So I was living in fear. I wasn't able to sleep at night. And I, again, went to the dark side. I was like, I'm just going to end it here because nobody's going to help me. This is BS. I was literally told to go over and shoot people for a political view. And I'm sitting over here with a non-political bias. I'm just asking for a living stability. So if you're not going to give that to me, I might as well just kill myself. You don't give a shit about me. So you go to that dark side often. So when the VA is like, all right, your appointment this month, have you had suicidal thoughts? Of course. Yeah. And then they go to the next question. Their standardized next question. Well, do you have a plan? Okay, well, now you're asking a person with deep ADHD issues if you have a plan. I've already thought about A through Z. So do I have a plan? And then that's when they start throwing up red flags. Well, you need medications and all this other stuff. And I'm telling you, you got one veteran group community who's like, yeah, meds do help. But then veteran groups over here like me, I'm like, I'm asking for Lexapro. That's it, right? Should be a little pill. I'm familiar with the shape and color. Every 6 months, it's changing. Different colors, different shapes. I don't know what that is. You're calling it Lexapro, but it's not Lexapro. So right now I'm raw dogging life. Last 6 months, I haven't been on any meds from the VA. VA doesn't punish you, but they do send you little nasty notes saying that if you don't go to your next physical in 12 months, we're going to take away your benefits. Like, no, that shouldn't be a thing. So yeah, I should be able to, as a veteran, you should be able to pick up and move to any state you want. I've done my time.
Yeah.
Whether it was 3 years, 5 years, 7, you offered that to me to sign for 3 years. I offered my life yet again. I signed again. again for another 5 years.
Yeah.
So you're asking me to do this thing. You told me that you were going to help me. But now that I'm out here, I'm free falling. So I had to take what was mine. I went to a VSO and I sat down with this guy and was like, I'm going to be real with you. I'm about to be homeless. I'm about to be a homeless veteran. And I drive through Spokane and I see homeless veterans all the time. So I'm like, I'm not going there. If I go there, I'm going to kill myself. Fuck that. I need a house, the bare minimum. I'll give up my car. I'll walk everywhere. I don't care. I want a house, a roof over my head. So sitting here like these other veterans, I'm telling this VSO and stuff, and he's like, look, to the T, fill out this form. We're going to go through the VA. The VA is going to get this. They're going to send you to X amount of an arsenal of doctors. You're going to go through those doctors, and then they're going to send you to civilian doctors. And then after that, we'll wait about 6 months. You'll get a rating, and then boom, it worked. So my initial rating was 60%. And then a couple months later, I went back into the VSO and was like, honestly, I think things aren't where they should be. The doctors don't give you anything. You have to do it yourself.
Okay.
So the VSO goes, okay, we can try, fills out the paperwork, goes off to the VA, comes back. VA says, hey, you've been approved. Well, then, like I said, the economy boomed up. Now I need something above the VA. VA is capped out. I've got nowhere else to turn. I called our governors, and then I literally, or our congressman, I literally had to call our congressman and say, I am a veteran. I am about to be gentrified. I've got Californians moving in here, buying up everything, and I can't even afford to buy. So I'm about to be your homeless veteran in your state. What are you going to do for me? I'm not asking for much. So they brought up Social Security. And I says, I am at 100%. I do believe I qualify. Let's try that out. They ran through the paperwork, put their Congress stamp on it and said, fast track this, get it through. What would take 6 months for a civilian to get Social Security took me 3 weeks. And I'm not saying like pat on my back, I deserve that. I did that.
Yeah.
Like I took the phone and I got heated. It took a little bit of whining to make that squeaky wheel get the grease. Any veteran that's out there hitting their wits end, there's no dead end. You literally just need to go out there and fight for what's yours. Ever since then, I've just been like, whew,
good for you.
The kids, they've got a need or want for nothing. I've got spare time to do this and help visit other veterans and fish with them and raise my kids, really. I mean, my kids, most kids have either both parents gone or not usually one or the other at home all the time. So it's like I get to make my kids breakfast every morning and then little pretty pink princess pancakes on Sunday.
I love that.
So I give my kids what I didn't get. My mom never made me breakfast, never packed my lunch with little treats and notes and stuff,
So what would you tell a veteran that feels like they're hitting the wall and nobody's helping them?
So what I would tell any other veteran, and whether you're receiving a little bit of benefits or all your benefits, no matter what, there isn't a dead end. Go to war.
Yeah.
Give them hell.
Yeah.
I mean, call your congressman. We've been there. We've all went to war.
That's right. You know how to do it.
Yeah.
Well, Derek, I just want to say thank you for not ending your life. I'm glad that you're here on this planet with us, and your life is valuable.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate you sharing your story with us.
Absolutely.
And I hope that it helps a veteran. I hope that it helps.
I hope it does too.
Somebody listening that is ready to give up. Don't give up.
Yeah, because it's not advertised. You don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
So it just takes another voice to go get it. Go do this.
Yes. I love that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Next week on The Survivor's Voice.
Especially not our family. We had no history of cancer. None of our loved ones had cancer. And then I think it was 10 days later that he was diagnosed. That was the only easy part because the preparation for that was so severe that they literally take you to the brink of death. I started taking note of all the little things, starting with the prophecy.
Thank you for joining us on The Survivor's Voice. I'm Angie Sedore, reminding you that every survivor's story matters, including yours. If you or someone you know has a story to share, you can contact us at booking@thesurvivorsvoice.net. Your voice deserves to be heard. If you enjoy the survival stories we share, we would love it if you gave this channel a follow and a 5-star rating. No matter how dark the journey, the light of resilience shines brighter. Thank you for listening. If you know someone who would benefit from hearing this story of survival, please share this powerful testimony with them. A heartfelt thank you to our incredible listeners for your unwavering support and to the survivor community for your courage and resilience. You are the heart of this podcast.